much, as it were. And then there is a need to inject new energy. Thank God for Christ Apostolic Church. There is a retirement age. And thank God for the vision of the leadership. Over the years, we can see that more than ever before, there has been ordination of young ministers. Younger ministers. You know, to God be the glory, I was a young minister. I was ordained at the age of 32. There are a lot of young ministers today. In the Levitical priest, they come into priesthood at 25. So this is an opportunity for us to also bear in mind that part of the preparation for retirement as an organization is to begin to mentor young leaders that will take over in the future. Retirement recognizes that human energy peaks at a certain age and begins to diminish after a particular age. The age limit for retirement may differ from vocation to vocation. In Christ Apostolic Church, it's 75. It was 70 before, it's now 75. In, for judges, for example, I think their retirement age is now 70. It used to be 65 before. It's now 70. Because, at that time, your mental strength will begin to go down. All right. Now, there are two types of retirement. There are two types of retirement. One is a voluntary retirement, which is the choice or a decision to retire before the statutory retirement age. For the fact that there's a retirement age does not mean you necessarily have to wait until when you are 75 to retire. I know of people that are retiring much earlier. I know of organizations where people decide to retire at age 50. Bill Gates has retired from Microsoft. He's the owner, but he's retired. Many of us may have been listening to the news right now. Aliko Dangote is 68 and is beginning to retire from his businesses and putting his children there. That is voluntary. He's not aged yet. He's still mentally alert. But he's already preparing. And that's the point. That's a gradual preparation. Now, voluntary retirement may be for several reasons. It may be for health reasons. For example, if your health does not support the activities of your service, irrespective of your age, it may be wise to retire. And it's not an evil thing to choose to retire. So don't feel, guilty, or you feel that you are doing something wrong if you choose to retire before retirement age. There's nothing wrong with it. Voluntary retirement may be for lack of interest in the job. The Bible, not the Bible, but people say whatever is worth doing is worth doing well. Voluntary retirement may be as a result of intention to change vocation. Or it may be for lack of productivity. And of course, if there is a misconduct, a very major misconduct, you may be advised to retire. And I'm telling you, if people are advised to retire, it is a privilege rather than being terminated. That's voluntary retirement. On the other hand, there is also compulsory retirement. So compulsory retirement occurs when one gets to a statutory retirement age. Usually, it's either you get to the age of retirement or you get to the maximum number of years in service that you are expected to serve. I think in government today, you retire either after 35 years of service or when you get to the age of 65, right? 60 now, okay, in government, okay. So that is compulsory retirement. Now, let's go to the heart of our discussion. How do we prepare for retirement? Preparing for retirement, whether you are in Christian ministry or in a secular profession, requires intentional planning across financial, spiritual, emotional, and practical domains. While both paths share many core principles, the context, income pattern, and values influencing retirement planning can defer. So I'm going to be taking us through a number of guidelines or, suggestions how we can prepare for retirement, or what you call the common principles that you need to imbibe when you prepare for retirement. Now, the greatest challenge in retirement is financial. And so your preparation must start from financial planning. And the secret is to start early. If you have not started, it is never too late to start. This is your biggest asset. Time, beg your pardon. Time is your biggest asset in retirement savings. One of the things that people say is that, the money is not enough. How then can I begin to save part of it? And I ask people, the money that you are getting today, was it the same amount you were getting 2 years or 3 years ago? It may not be. Now, we know that the cost of living is also increasing. And in most organizations, incomes are being adjusted according to cost of living. If you must plan for retirement, you need to imbibe a principle of what is called deferred gratification. Meaning that there are some things you will have to deny yourself of at a point in time, so that even if it is 10% of your income, begin to save it. If you save 10% of your income, for example, if you earn 100,000 and you save 10,000 every month, you will have 120,000 capital by the end of the year. If you invest that amount and put it in some instruments that I'm going to be talking about, you will see how that money will multiply on your behalf without you doing anything. That is why time is an asset. So anyone who starts retirement, who starts planning and saving from day one, and you have a 35-year tenure, or you have 20 years, or you have 10 years, and you start, time will help you build your financial capacity. The second thing under financial planning is budgeting. Always track your income and expenses diligently, and identify savings opportunities and cut unnecessary spending. Praise the Lord. It is not every ashwebi that you must buy. It is not every fashionable thing that you must acquire. It is not everything that you must, do. Fine, because you know where you are going. I am not saying it's wrong to do any of those. I am only saying that savings require self-denial. You must also begin to keep aside an emergency fund. An emergency fund that can fund your standard or your living expenses between 3 to 6 months should there be anything suddenly that happens. Even if you don't retire, assuming for whatever reason or the other, your salary cannot be paid. Have you kept enough money in place that you can survive for at least 3 months? That is part of the planning that we need to have behind our mind. And this is something that you must put in a liquid asset. And what does that mean? Let it be cash, where you can always fall back to should there be anything that hinders the flow of your income. And of course, debt management. This is very important. Reduce and eliminate all kinds of consumer debts before retirement. Retirement. Because you can't afford to begin to use your retirement benefits to start paying debt. So make sure that you plan to be out of debt before retirement. Number 2, retirement accounts. Now, let me just quickly share with us an overview of the Pension Reform Act. Okay, thank you. The Pension Reform Act of 2014, which I think has been modified now. The Pension Act signed on 1st of July 2014 provides that employers with at least 15 employees are required to participate in a contributory pension scheme for their employees. The minimum contribution under the Act is 18% of monthly emolument. That is, your contribution will be 8% of your income, while your employer will contribute 10% of your income. And it goes into what is called a retirement savings account. So the retirement savings account is one that you contribute to regularly, right? Take advantage of, the employers matching it. So corporate organizations do a lot of this. I know that our church too is planning something. I think there's a retirement scheme that is in place. I'm not sure whether it's exactly in line with the Pension Reform Act, but the Pension Reform Act provides a good opportunity. And I must say that I'm experiencing it because I had a pension plan, and today is part of what I'm experiencing, so I know how it works. Now, it's also important that you understand various investment options. Now, I talked earlier on about saving. For those who are familiar with the banking industry, you don't get much interest on savings accounts. Maybe on savings account, if they are generous, maybe they pay you 2% or 2.5%. All right? And you are running an inflation, where in a country where inflation is running at about, how much is it now? 27%, thereabout. So whatever you are earning is eventually, eaten up by inflation. So it's important for you to know that while savings may be the first point of contact for you to put your funds together, it must necessarily transit into investments. And that is where you can get real income. I'll share with us 3 investment opportunities or options. All right? The first one is investing in what is called money market instruments. Money market instruments, these are the fixed deposits. So if you go to your bank and ask them, you want to place money on fixed deposit, that is, you want to keep the money aside maybe for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or 180 days, or even for 1 year, and ask them how much interest are they going to be paying you. All right? Or you may want to invest in what is called treasury bills. When you keep your money in the bank, you are taking the risk of the bank. All right? Meaning that you are believing that when you need that money, the bank will provide it. All right? But then it depends on how much the bank needs your money for them to determine what amount of interest they will pay you. All right? So maybe interest may be in the range of maybe 10%, 15%, thereabout. It's still better than savings account. Or you may tell your bank that you want to buy what is called treasury bills. Treasury bills are government bonds issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Those are bonds. It's like you are buying into Nigeria. Those ones, depending on the market, pay even some higher interest. You can only do that through your bank. The unfortunate thing is that the bank does not advise you. You know why? Because the bank wants you to keep your money in your current account. Because that's where they make more money. But you need to be wise. So you need to inquire. But once you inquire, they will give you information. All right? So these are examples of where you can invest your money under the money market. But for you to do this, you need to contact your bank so that they can educate you more. You can also invest in capital market opportunities. That is purchasing shares. But it's important that you are guided by qualified stockbrokers so that you do not go and buy shares. Every investment you do has a risk. Please, let's know that. But then, it also has a return. There is no instrument, no investment, even your savings is risky. Because if the bank goes down, your money is gone. So, and you can't keep your money under your pillow anymore. So you still have to take the risk. So you can also invest in the capital market by buying shares, but you need to be guided by stockbrokers. You can also invest in real estate.